Yeah, it's really nice to see everyone, and thank you for asking me to come and speak on a topic that I'm quite interested in. We seem to get themes that emerge each year when you're talking to patients, and fatigue has been something that's sort of come up quite a bit this year. And it's great to have this slot because I know everyone's just had their lunch. So if they nod off, I know it's not my talk, it's your lunch. Right, where's the little... So it's been very interesting putting this together for me because it focuses your mind on these sort of intangible things, you know, what is fatigue and what's energy. So I don't know if anyone has any sort of thoughts on what fatigue is. You know, is it the same as being tired? What makes fatigue more extreme, really? I would think. Go on then, Bob. Yeah. Yes, yeah. So, no, I think sort of words that spring to mind, like running out of steam or overwhelming. I don't know if you'd agree, but that seems to be, it's more than being just tired. So there we are, there's my little picture of somebody that's fatigued, exhausted. The dictionary definition is up there, and the, you know, extreme physical mental tiredness. Dr. Booth, who came to speak to us last year, and her team have done some work on this, and they describe it as this tiredness that interferes with the ability to function. And I think the key is that it's not really relieved by rest. So, you know, that's their sort of take on it. And they're a palliative care team, so they're obviously used to people with cancer, you know, all these type of things where fatigue is common. Oh. Where are my other causes? Oh. So there can be other reasons that you're fatigued, other than, I think, when you've got a long-term condition, you might always put it down to that. But it could be that you're anemic. It can be to do with things like your thyroid, glucose, diabetes, all sorts of things. Infection, cardiac problems can make you fatigued, pain, and then the sort of psychological things, depression and stress. All these things can make you fatigued. And we heard the gentleman this morning with a baby. I mean, having a baby, having children, working, all these other things can make you feel extremely fatigued. So I think we have to look for any reversible causes and see, you know, whether there's something else going on, and things that we might be able to do something about. It impacts really physically on you just can't, you know, do things. It also impacts on how you feel and how you think. So often you can't concentrate as much, you're fatigued, so you stop doing things that take, you know, need you to concentrate. And again, I think it sort of can, I think, have an impact on how you view yourself and your self-image. If you know, if you suddenly find that you're feeling fatigued, you feel, oh, I'm old, or I'm not able to do what other people do. I'm not. You've lost your sort of vim and your vigour, and that can. I think that's quite a big thing to come to terms with. It's multidimensional, so all these things that we've just been talking about, really, and our colleagues in, I think it's Manchester where they are, Manchester, Liverpool, Annette Duck and the team that she works in, they've done a qualitative study, and they've found, you know, it does have a really negative impact on the quality of patients' lives. The only problem is most of this research is done on patients with cancer or COPD, emphysema. There's not as much work being done on some of the other respiratory diseases, but I think fatigue is very common to any respiratory problem. You know, not being breathless is exhausting, your body's working harder. It's a very neglected subject, and apparently when I've been reading up about it, health professionals don't ask people about it. Do you like my cheesy doctor and nurse? And patients don't tell us. So it's, you know, it's quite a hidden problem. And you know, I was thinking about why that is. Why don't we ask, and why don't patients tell us? And I think there is a perception that it's inevitable. You've got a condition, and this is how you're going to be. It's unavoidable. There's an acceptance of it, and I think it is a very complex subject because it does affect your self-image, your self-esteem, and they're things that you might not want to acknowledge. So, you know, I think there's quite a lot to it, more than you think when you first just think about people being tired. And obviously when you've got severe symptoms, you will be fatigued, and there might not be very much that we can do about that. So it's learning to manage that. This is the sort of cycle of what can happen. So you feel tired and exhausted, you become lethargic, you reduce your activity, you start to avoid things that make you have this unpleasant feeling, and then you lose stamina and become deconditioned, which increases your fatigue, makes you less able to do things, and it just goes round and round. And what helps, and this is something that comes up every week, really, I think, in clinic, about increasing activity, trying to exercise. But I think not everyone wants to sort of join gyms and things like that, but there are other ways of keeping active. And I think even keeping active and interested in things is important in, you know, trying to help with this sort of feeling. And obviously the benefits are sort of well documented, but oddly enough, by being more active when you're fatigued, it can improve your energy levels, it will improve your stamina, you become more resistant to fatigue, and there is evidence that it does help with breathlessness. But as everyone was saying this morning, everyone's at different stages, there's different, everyone's got different abilities. So, you know, we're not saying to somebody that's severely breathless to go out and hike or whatever. But the benefits are definitely there. So circulation, appetite, and mood. And I know, you know, my mother will say to me, "Oh, you do too much." People always want you to be resting, don't they? But actually, resting is not always the most helpful thing. It's better to try and change what you're doing, do something else, but not go for naps all the time. As I say, it doesn't necessarily mean going to the gym. It's just moving more. Pedometers are quite good, and I think if you aim for 2,000 steps a day, that's a mile. So, you know, you can build up from that. exercise bikes. You can get some just pedals. I don't know if anyone's seen that, where you can sit and watch telly in your armchair pedalling. They're quite good. And then there's all phone apps for activities, and I think all that sort of technical stuff's quite good. So really the best way to manage fatigue is trying to conserve your energy. And again, you know, what is energy? It's anyone, any thoughts on how you would describe having energy? I mean, it's something we admire, isn't it? We sort of say, oh, I don't know where you get your energy from. It feels like a deterioration, really, in what you're used to being able to do. And I think the analogy of money and spending your energy, thinking of it in the same way that you'd spend money, is quite useful. So what can we do about it? So the basic things, like make sure you're having regular meals, healthy diet, fluid, all these sort of things, avoiding infections by having flu jabs, treating infections early. That's another thing. We all tend to be quite stoical, I think, and think, oh, it'll be better in a few days. But I think with LAM, you need to sort of jump on it early. Thinking, are you stressed? Are you depressed? And these are common things when people have a long-term condition. Looking at sleep habits, changing activity, going outside for a bit, you know, these all help. I think also thinking about what saps your energy and what gives you energy, because I don't know, if you say, depends what you like doing, but you might like music and going to see a live musical performance or something. I think energises you, and it's not something that takes lots of physical effort, or, you know, arts, crafts, all those sort of things are very good. Looking at your routine and thinking, are there times of day when you're not as active or don't have as much energy? So that might be in the morning for some people, might be in the evening. So looking at trying to work round your day so that you're not trying to do lots of things at times when your energy's at its lowest. Looking at the sorts of things that you do. And I know one or two people that work have perhaps cut their hours down, or you know, they might decide to have a day off in the week and making that day the middle of the week, so that you've got 2 days, then you know, a rest day, and then 2 more days, rather than working 4 days all at once. So there's lots of things that you can do, but you know, lots of you here manage fantastically well. You can complete activity diaries so that you keep, you know, just have a look over a week and see what you're doing, when you're doing it, and looking at when you've got the energy to do things. And also, I think sometimes there are people that sap your energy. So, you know, perhaps there are people that make you feel good, and other people that you know, sap your strength, really. So stuff like that. The study that I talked about earlier, the Annette Duck study, one of the issues that came up for people that they interviewed was that it was very frustrating to lose that ability to be spontaneous. So if you find, you know, if you're going somewhere and you've got to think, is there a hill? Is there somewhere that I'll be able to stop? Is there somewhere that I can sit down? If you've been somebody that's been very active and you're used to, if something needs doing, you jump up and do it, and you find that you're not able to do that anymore, that's hugely frustrating and takes a lot of effort, really, to change and have a rethink. And have to plan, and that, you know, I'm sure that's so annoying if you just want to go off and do something, but you've got all these other things to consider now. I think building resilience, and again, this was something that Dr. Booth spoke about last year, just trying to keep interested in things. And I've listened to one or two people doing the interviews and, you know, looking at the bigger picture and trying to focus on what you can do, not sort of grieving for what you've lost that you can't do anymore, looking at different activities. So I think one lady says she does a lot of Tai Chi, this sort of thing. Just keeps you interested, and that's good for you, you know, your health, because health's not just about numbers and measurements, it's about, you know, psychological, emotional, all the rest of it. Becoming absorbed in something, and I know the buzzword is mindfulness, but you know, that can just be doing an activity that totally absorbs you, where you think, oh, where did that hour go? You know, that I think that's really good. And looking after, as I say, holistically, looking after your whole self, not just physical things. You've got to look after the whole of you, really. And learning to prioritise, so that, again, keeping the diaries, just having a look at what you do. Are there things that you absolutely need to do, that, you know, you should try to fit those in first and then fit in all the other bits around that. Pulmonary rehabilitation is really useful, and we can always, you know, if you come to clinic, we can always mention that in the letter to your GP to ask them to refer you to your local teams. And also occupational therapy assessments. I think they're often forgotten about, but they're really very good at talking about pacing, managing energy, you know, looking at how things are set up at your home so that you can make life a bit easier, and end up, you know, perhaps by doing a bit more planning and working things out, it enables you to do more for a bit longer, frustrating though it might be. And I was thinking about, I found these statistics which are staggering, and I'm sure nobody here spends all this time watching telly, but it is quite a scary statistic, because you think, where can you fit all this stuff into your day, because we all seem to be busy. But, you know, perhaps we do watch a bit too much telly, or, you know, get messing about on the computer, and all of a sudden, again, like I said, getting absorbed with things, you can find an hour's gone. So I think that's quite interesting. It was funny that in this report they found that some youngsters actually spend 13 hours doing stuff, and I thought, well, how can that be? But they can be on the computer and texting and doing everything at once. So that's quite a staggering figure, I think. I'm sure some people spend more than that, but no one here. So conserving your energy, really, it's thinking of it like money. It is a precious resource, and we shouldn't waste it. So sometimes you can waste a lot of energy worrying about things, or, you know, that I think worry can be a big thing to sap energy. Avoiding your boom and bust, so don't get up and on a good day you think, right, I can do, you know, I'll do loads, and then the next day you can't do much at all. So trying to sort of share it out. Invest in your energy wisely, so thinking, what do I really need to do? What do I not just need to do, what would I like to do? Because, you know, you can get so wrapped up with general tasks and things that we then forget that, you know, there's time for other really nice things that you might want to do, or spending time with family, and also keeping a bit back so that you don't use all your energy. You've just got a bit left, you know, and you're not depleting yourself. And that's it, really. I've got some diary sheets, if anybody did want to sort of have a think and look at, you know, what activities you're doing. And there's also, it's the Cambridge, Dr. Booth's team have produced a leaflet that's quite good, and we've got a couple of those. So you can come and collect those if you wish. But is there any questions? Really? Yeah. Yes, yeah. That is a problem, isn't it? In some, yeah. I think some of the sort of health authorities, because the community pay for pulmonary rehab, and I think it's funded in some areas, it is just for COPD. But I think, you know, quite often they will take on other people. But even if you just had a consultation with a physio, that should be possible. So it's worth asking for that. And if you can't get one with the physio, try the occupational therapist, because they're you know, they've got a wealth of information and advice about it. But yeah, you're right. I know that is a problem.
I mean, you could well argue that Lyme is a chronic.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Have you tried that? Yeah, was it? Yeah. Is it? Yeah, that's a shame, isn't it? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah. Well, I think I would ask them to refer you for a consultation with a physio. Oh dear. Yeah. Oh dear. I don't know what you do about that. There used to be the British Lung Foundation might do. They used to have a film that you could do at home called Move. I think it was called Move It or Move In It or something. Yes, yeah.
I went to one that's actually the respiratory nurse in my area. I went to the NHS one.
Yeah.
And she started up her own group.
Oh right.
For after the 6 weeks.
Yes.
So I've been
Yeah.
there 5 years.
Right. Yes. Oh. Yeah. That's interesting. Yes.
We pay, it's run like, it's not a charity.
Yes. Yeah.
Group.
That's interesting.
The respiratory nurse that did the NHS does this.
Yeah.
We have backing from the British Lung Foundation.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds good.
And we're
Yeah.
actually doing a sponsored walk for them next week for the Lung Foundation.
Right.
That they promote.
Yeah.
The local Breathe Easy group fund it as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
All and everything.
Yes.
But you
Yeah.
get many more people coming there than to the NHS one.
Right. That's interesting.
She struggled to get it set up.
Did she?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Loughborough were running courses for people to train as trainers for pulmonary rehab. It's a pity really that the sort of council gyms and don't offer that. But some areas will do these walks, don't they? They have walking groups, and so I suppose there's always those alternatives. But I know it can be difficult. I think we're quite lucky really in Nottingham. Most of our groups will take people with other conditions. Anything else? Yeah. Yes.
People feel guilty.
Yes.
Because it's not think with fatigue people feel guilty because it's, if you've got a temperature
Yes.
or you've broken your leg or something, I mean,
Yeah.
or even with Lyme, if you're on oxygen, it's very
Yes.
clear to people that you're
Yeah.
poorly. But if you're not, and you just feel exhausted and without any
Yes.
apparent,
Yeah.
you just can't move about or
Yes.
get
And
the
at
energy up.
rest, you're probably fine, and people think, well, you look fine, you look great. What, you know?
After
So that must be very, very difficult.
It is, I think, and it's because it's not identifiable somehow.
Yes.
And I think that people do feel guilty, and that's something that needs to be
Yes.
overcome.
Yeah.
I was recently told I had post-viral fatigue, and I said, it sounds like a made-up complaint. So even I couldn't recognise it as, you know. But it does, doesn't it? Years
Yeah.
ago, there was something called yuppie flu,
Yes.
which was
Yeah.
a slight cold, I think. But
Yeah.
it sounds like an exaggeration or a...
Yeah.
It doesn't
But
sound real.
I think there is science behind it, because there's some work that's been done on, I think it was in cancer patients, but there are I think it's IL-6, is it, or something, that there's abnormal. I'm looking desperately at Simon, but there are chemicals that seem to be about when people have got this really severe fatigue, and I think also it can affect the process by which the body does get its energy from ATP. That I did find something. So there are some physiological reasons for it, but yes, it was a bit trendy at one time, wasn't it? The yuppie flu thing, but yeah. So I don't know if Simon wants to speak a bit on that.
No, thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sharon.
Okay,
Thank you.